to see Ken Ramey live?
Oh, yes. Well, see, that's the thing. His best, or not his best, but his last big runs were mostly all in Tennessee. The interns with Lynn Rossi and Bearcat Brown, when I was first starting watching wrestling on television, where they had painted him white and sold out everywhere weeks in a row. And they came back, I think, for a run in 72 or 73. And then the interns and Ramey were back in 75 for a short little run, but they were always used on top because of their history of drawing money for Nick and all the Tennessee territories. And yet Ramey, he was very serious and looked like an evil doctor. And whether it was doing the fucking ether on the rag or whether the loaded cane or just, he had a wicked fucking kick to the head where he would kick guys with those street shoes and it looked like he was killing them. But he was very rail thin. And when they'd make him wrestle in special managers matches or whatever, he was physically no match for any of the wrestlers, but even though he could work, he worked like a manager. So it was easy to get heat on them and then have him get beat up and et cetera, but he wouldn't do it unless it was the right shit. They were very protective of their heat and their gimmick.
And he had heat.
Yeah.
He had major heat. You brought up Len Rossi and Bearcat Brown. They're really an unheralded tag team because there is very little footage. If there's anything, it's arena footage. And they were more the other side of the circuit. They weren't the Jarrett, Memphis side. They were more the Alabama, Nashville side.
Yeah. Nashville, in the old days, Nashville, Chattanooga, Birmingham was the triangle that Nick's end ran, the Birmingham end, and the Memphis end was Memphis, Louisville, Evansville. But Lynn Rossi booked a lot for Nick. So he was always figured in from the early 60s. Not only was he a top singles babyface, but then the tag team with Bearcat was probably the most popular. I mean, they were Tommy Gilbert and Eddie Marlin level, and then later on almost the Fabulous ones level popular. They were just over like crazy. But, Bearcat was the guy that, you could get – the interns got the heat on him when they painted him white, for fuck's sake. And he was tarred and feathered a time or two, but while it sounds racist, Lynn Rossi and Bearcat Brown were probably the first mixed, white and black babyface regular tag team in the South. And when they went to Birmingham, Lynn Rossi already had fans. People loved Bearcat, and he was just, he was a big guy that was quiet and very polite, but then when he lost his temper and did that fucking dance for the comeback, the place came unglued. So in a lot of matches, they would get the heat on Lynn Rossi and give Bearcat the tag, let him make the big comeback because Lynn was more the sympathetic babyface. But sometimes, if it was especially in Birmingham or heavy, black population, they'd get the heat on Bearcat because the people would be ready to kill the fucking heels beating Bearcat up, and then Lynn would get the tag and save the day. But it just worked a variety of ways, and they had a real good run. I mean, these guys, I know the tickets were $2 and $3 and $4, right? But these were guys that were drawing 4,000 people a week in the old building at the fairgrounds in Nashville before the split when Nashville was still drawing big, but they were doing stretches where they'd sell the Chattanooga Memorial Auditorium out every Saturday night, 5,000-6,000 people, 5 or 6 weeks in a row. And Birmingham, at one point, the guys would rather be booked in Birmingham on Monday night than in Memphis in the 60s when they would do 5,000-6,000 people in that old Boutwell Auditorium every fucking Monday night. And then, of course, the move to the Coliseum in Memphis and Jarrett taking over the book, and he got the business so strong over there, you'd rather be in Memphis. That's one thing's kill Birmingham. But just the amount of tickets that these guys like Rossi and Bearcat Brown and the Fargos and Tojo that they drew, that the amount of tickets they sold every week, it was insane.
And so much attention gets paid to Sputnik, and rightfully so, even if the promotion had a big part to do in it, in the desegregation of the sporting events in Memphis. But Bearcat and Len Rossi, like you said, desegregated babyface tag teams in the South, which is pretty big.
And Birmingham was even a little tougher nut to crack racially than Memphis was. But there they were side by side in the late 60s, early 70s, you know, getting cheered on as they tried to beat up the evil Germans or the evil doctors or the evil fucking masked scorpions or whoever the fuck it may have been that was evil. And people accepted them. But then Sputnik later on.
Yeah, with Norvell.
In what was it, 71, 72, he was part of the first regular mixed black and white heel team. And to the point where he got Norvell to bleach the blonde streak in the front of his hair, and people were saying that must be Sputnik's son. He's had a son that's black. And they went crazy.